Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Gains for Girls podcast. We have an exciting OutKick special episode today. We are being joined by one of my most favorite reporters and journalists at OutKick. His name is Dan. His last name starts with a Z. I don't know how to say it. I think it's Zaksheske. He'll correct me if I'm wrong. He has done a fantastic job of reporting on tons of different things. But I think with the total surgence of the issue of men and women's sports, he has been on the ground covering this topic across the nation, especially in high schools where you have states and legislative bodies who continue to defy President Trump's executive order. He has blown the lid off of one of the most alarming stories in girls' sports this year. He's been digging into what's happening in the state of Michigan, where Skyline High School has competed with a boy on its girls' volleyball team, despite the fact that the Michigan High School Athletic Association claims they haven't approved any male athletes or trans-identified male waivers since last fall. So everyone is demanding answers. Parents, coaches, even lawmakers. And MHSAA still hasn't confirmed whether a waiver was granted, how this athlete was cleared, or why there is zero transparency around eligibility. As I said, Dan was actually on the ground covering the match, or should I say matches. Skyline went on to win their district championship. They basically made it to the top 8 girls volleyball teams in the state before being defeated by, I believe it was Byron Center. Dan witnessed firsthand the reaction from families who feel blindsided and betrayed by the system that's supposed to protect their daughter. So the story that he reported on, it raises lots of questions. Did Skyline break the rules? Did MHSAA look the other way? What does this mean for the future of women's sports in the state of Michigan and beyond? He's been at the center of it from the start, and he's here to walk us through all of that and more. Thanks for listening to this episode of Gains for Girls. Well, Dan, thank you for joining the Gains for Girls podcast. I would imagine many of the people who watch and who listen to this already are familiar with you because they read your pieces. And the piece that I want to talk about today, the story that you did a fantastic job reporting on and really uncovering at the national level, like this got national attention, is what was happening in the state of Michigan in the sport of women or girls volleyball. Can you very briefly take us through what you saw at Skyline High School? I think we have a picture too I wanted to include of a mural that you were met with and stepping foot into this wonderful academic establishment. Just give a little brief background on how you found yourself reporting on this story.
So in early September, and thank you for having me, Riley. In early September, someone contacted me in the Skyline community and said, hey, pretty sure there's a trans-identifying male competing on the Skyline girls volleyball team. It's very hush-hush around here. Some people know about it, but it seems to be very quiet. You might want to look into this. So I did. Started doing my research, was able to confirm beyond a shadow of a doubt that, yes, absolutely, Skyline has a trans-identified male who transitioned around 12 or 13 years old, it seems. The athlete in question doesn't actually attend Skyline High School. They just play for the volleyball team, which I think helped to hide the fact that this was a player who is not a biological female. I think while some people were aware of it, there were many people who were not, who just simply did not know that this was a trans-identified male on the team. So we were able to confirm that, and then we started asking the MHSAA for questions. So I'm sure your readers by now might be aware. I've had to learn all about Michigan's rules and how it works. And Michigan, the MHSAA essentially says that they're stuck because they believe that state law, the Elliott-Larsen Act, protects gender identity above biological sex. And so they feel if they don't allow trans-identifying males in girls' sports, that they would be violating state law. Of course, there is federal law. There is something called Title IX that has been around for over 50 years. There is President Trump's executive order keeping men out of women's sports. So the MHSAA has really been cagey throughout the process. They initially told us they had not approved any trans identifying waivers, which is the process in the state. Schools that have males who want to compete in female sports. And I know I see your eyes glazing over. It's all this ridiculous policy, but
right.
It's so insane. So they have to get these waivers that say, okay, we approve that, yes, this male can compete on a girls' team. But what they won't tell us is if Skyline has one of these waivers. So not only are they most likely violating federal law, we don't even know if Skyline is following the procedures set forth in the state of Michigan.
It is such a finger pointing competition, right? And no one wants to take real accountability. No one wants to be the person who is liable and responsible for these rules that, like, for years society has deemed as transphobic, or any of the other buzzwords that they want to use, which of course you and I, and again the people listening and watching this, know is not the case. But I mean, what I'm hearing and what I've read in your reporting is that basically a male athlete, a minor, right, a boy with no waiver, as it's been made pretty apparent, was able to play in a state-sanctioned girls match against the rules of federal law and, as you said, what's happening in the state of Michigan. How in the world could something like this have really slipped through the cracks?
Well, again, we don't know because they won't tell us. I mean, it seems like we don't know if there's a waiver, which it calls into question and makes it suspicious. If there's a waiver, why wouldn't the MHSAA just say, just to get us off their backs, if nothing else, yeah, there's a waiver. I mean, we've heard some vagaries. There was a politician who went on TV and accused me of some very unsavory things, but in her ridiculous rant, she also said, every athlete on Skyline is eligible. We've heard that from the school district. They said all of our athletes are in compliance. We've heard that from other ADs saying everyone on Skyline's team is compliant, which suggests that the waiver exists. Why not show it? I don't understand, unless it doesn't, or it was obtained in an unscrupulous manner. So again, sorry to give you this ridiculous background, but the way it works in Michigan, you have to apply for this waiver 30 days before the opt-out date. This year for girls volleyball, the opt-out date was October 9th, which means Skyline would have had to have requested this waiver by September 9th. If they requested it after that, it would be invalid. Now, our first reporting came out in mid-September after this date. So had Skyline asked for a waiver at that point? Again, that's when the MHSAA told us they had not approved any waivers. Now, to your point, not only did Skyline compete in one state-sanctioned match, they won a district tournament. They beat Dexter. They are District 15 champions, which will live forever in Michigan record books. This team advanced to essentially what was the Elite Eight of Michigan Division I volleyball, which is the highest level in the state. So this was one of the 8 best teams in the state of Michigan for girls high school volleyball, rostering a biological male.
Well, the Department of Justice has certainly not backed down in cases of, I mean, you can think of like the viral Governor Mills of Maine interaction where she said, I'll see you in court to President Trump, or obviously bad actors like Gavin Newsom, or what is happening in Washington and Oregon. So hopefully we will see some federal action to the state of Michigan for their...
And to that point, Riley, Michigan was one of those states that when Trump signed the executive order was like, we're not going to follow this. So...
Well, we'll see how that works. And there's a clip. You mentioned one of the state legislators. There's a clip I want to play in a minute where she talks about federal law. But we'll get to that. One of the things that I wanted to address before that, though, in one of the articles that you had written, you had talked about the harassment that you received. We have a video. We're going to play it. We'll put it on the screen of the Skyline principal following you around. Let's watch it very briefly here.
Let's go, Skyline! Woo!
But I mean, Dan, tell us about this. Again, this is the principal of the high school who is like effectively following you around, listening to every conversation that you're having, inserting herself. I mean, what was going on here?
Yeah, so I want to make a point here that I think is very interesting, because so many people attacked me online and they were like, of course the principal's following you around. You're a random strange man filming high school girls. First of all, I wasn't filming anyone. Actually, the only reason I even came to find out the principal was following me is because I was trying to talk to 2 parents, adults, grown men on the Dexter side. There were two guys wearing Dexter gear, and I thought, well, let's see what they think. I mean, that was my job. That's what I was there to do. We've never named or shown a picture of this athlete. The story's never been about the athlete. It's been about what we've been talking about, the MHSAA, whether these schools are following laws. And we've tried to talk to parents throughout the season, and we've had a few talk anonymously, but it seems like, Riley, that Ann Arbor is just such a liberal bubble that these people, even the ones who disagree, are terrified to speak out. So I went over to these two guys and I introduced myself. I said, my name is Dan Zaksheske. I'm from OutKick. And before I could even finish my introduction, this woman kind of got almost in between us. I had no idea who she was. And the guys kind of like looked at her and they were like, no, I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk. And I was like, okay, that's strange. So I went to the woman and I said, hi, my name is Dan Zaksheske. I'm a reporter with OutKick. Do you mind telling me who you are? And she said, I'm the principal of Skyline High School. And I said, oh, okay, great. Again, my name's Dan Zaksheske. I'm a reporter. I held out my hand for her to shake my hand. She looked at my hand, looked back at me, and literally shook her head no. And I said, you won't shake my hand? Shook her head no again. I said, okay. Well, would you like to talk to me about, and before I could even finish asking if she would talk to me, she was like, absolutely not. I was like, okay. So that's when I decided to test. So I walked over to another section looking for other parents to see what people might be saying about this, to see what there was chatter. And this woman kind of tried to hide it, but it was pretty clear she was following me around the gym. I mean, you can see in the video, I mean, she tries to hide it. She's like looking around, smiling, talking to parents, but like, it's clear she's following me around the gym. And for all those people saying she was watching me to protect her girls, again, I was attempting to talk to adults, to parents, to get their take on their daughters competing against a male in a district final. I don't know how I can be more clear about that.
No, and I think this is important to mention because in all of your reporting on this topic, you never once mentioned the boy's name. You never once mentioned the boy, what number he wore on his jersey. None of those things were disclosed. People do have eyes, right? Like people can make their own conclusions. They can look at the situation and decipher on their own. But as a reporter, you did a fantastic job of protecting the identity of a minor and not talking about the girls even. It was about, the total negligence and the malpractice from the state of Michigan and their athletic association. So absolutely. There was another photo in one of the articles that you put up, and it was this hilarious selfie of you and this guy. Do you remember? I'm sure you know the photo I'm talking about. I think we have it. We'll put it on screen. Do you know what his shirt said in this?
Yeah, it said, "May you have the confidence of a mediocre white man."
I kind of want one of these shirts.
As you can see from the photo, Riley, this man is very much white.
And he looks so confident and mediocre. And mediocre. I'm going to get my husband one of those for Christmas.
And so speaking of following me around, so once the match started, I noticed that someone was screaming very loudly every time Skyline would score a point, go Skyline, woo! And, I didn't think anything of it in the beginning because it was like, look, I'm at Skyline High School. They're playing for a district title. There's going to be fans of this team and that's whatever. But after like the 6th or 7th time, I felt like it was oddly close to my ear. So that's when I took this picture. As you can see, he's standing very close to me. And I take the picture and the guy says to me, you need my permission to take a photo. And I said, actually, sir, I don't. We're in a public location. I do not. You do not have a right to privacy here. I don't need your permission to take your photo. And he said, well, it's rude to take someone's picture without asking. And I said, well, it's rude to scream in someone's ear and stand 6 inches behind them. So I guess we're even. And it was at this point that he started kind of trying to rally the troops a bit. So he starts kind of accosting me and he's like, what are you doing here? Do you have a daughter on the team? You don't, do you? Boy, that's creepy. You're here watching high school girls and you don't have a girl on the team. Like obviously trying to get people around to think a certain way about me. Now, again, I want people to understand all of the attacks I've received saying, this is a stranger in this gym. I am not a stranger. My picture is out there. My name is out there. I introduced myself to every single person who I was able to. I introduced myself to the principal as soon as I realized who she was. People saying I was secretly recording. My presence there was not a secret. And that is evident by the fact they knew I was going to be there. This guy had planned to be behind me the entire time. Another woman followed me around the gym the entire time. And every time I tried, she would just stare at me. They knew I was going to be there. So the idea that I was some random stranger, that's false. My name is on everything I do. My picture's everywhere. Everything I've posted is public. I really don't understand it, Riley. I don't.
Well, to me, it's the hypocrisy of what the things they're saying to you, saying that you're the creep for being there without, a daughter on the team. Yet these are the same people who are totally cool with men exposing themselves in girls' locker rooms, right? So the hypocrisy and the irony of it is almost laughable, again, if there weren't real consequences, such as women being exploited, young girls being exploited and exposed to male genitalia. If that weren't the case, it would almost be laughable.
And also, in a broader sense, real quick, like, what is their argument that if you don't have a daughter on a team, you shouldn't attend a girls' sporting event? So no one should ever show up so we just shouldn't watch girls' high school sporting events? That sounds kind of misogynistic. Like, the only reason you should ever have to be at a girls' sporting event is because you have a child on the team?
Yeah, okay. But that's what they do. It's always some like totally nonsensical way to attempt to defend their position, which is really hard to do when your position is indefensible.
Correct.
What's the response that you have seen from lawmakers in Michigan following your reporting and your coverage of this?
As you'd expect, Republicans within the Michigan House separately have sent 2 letters to the MHSAA, essentially demanding to see this waiver. Does it exist? I mean, I've spoken to a couple of them, and they've said basically the same thing. Like, their hands are kind of tied. Michigan law is what it is. Although one lawmaker, Donnie Steele, told me that she believes the MHSAA and others are misinterpreting Elliott Larson, that it doesn't allow for trans-identified males to enter girls' spaces. So I imagine that's going to lead to some kind of legal fight. But then, of course, there are the Democrats who have attacked me on social media, the woman who attacked me on television, another guy, I'm not even going to give you his name, but essentially commented, "You're not a reporter, Dan." It's like, okay, good insult.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. We've got that clip. I want to play it really quickly of the Democratic lawmaker who had some choice words to say about you. Let's watch it really quick.
Federally protected privacy information, and every student athlete that played in this tournament was MHSAA eligible, and that's all the information that really needs to be released. And it's really kind of shocking to me that lawmakers would be asking a statewide agency to violate federal privacy laws. I think it's disgusting that a right-wing influencer, middle-aged man, flew across multiple states to record a girls' volleyball team in their short shorts and post videos and things online. For the Epstein's time, Republicans need to stop being obsessed with girls and kids.
Well, she called you an influencer, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, real quick, I need to correct the record. I am not middle-aged. Okay, middle age starts around 40, possibly 45. I am 36 years old, so I appreciate being called an influencer, but I am not middle-aged.
It's listening to her say this and talk about federal law too, when we've spent our time today talking about how they're violating federal law. She was talking about federal privacy. I'm assuming some sort of HIPAA laws, right? Like, she definitely seems to be cherry picking which federal laws she believes are worth following, huh?
Yeah, you made that point. I thought it was an excellent one, and I'm disappointed in myself for not thinking of it. But you're obviously a champion in this space. What did they call you? The Regina George of the anti-trans movement, I believe.
You're a middle-aged influencer, and I'm Regina George of anti-trans. Perfect. This is OutKick.
But it is a great point that she's talking about federal law and how they're asking them to violate federal law. Like, what? Aren't you violating federal law in your position, arguing that males should be allowed to compete in girls' sports and share locker rooms? I mean, that is sort of insane. And also, she's just incorrect. First of all, she said that every athlete on the team was MHSAA compliant. We reached out to her via email and said, okay, that is a statement of fact. You are saying that without a doubt, every athlete was eligible. Please provide your proof. Please show us the MHSAA waiver that you saw that no one else has seen, by the way. So that raises 2 things, Riley. Either she has seen this waiver and the MHSAA is only sharing it with Democrats, which is a obviously a huge problem. Or two, she hasn't seen the waiver and she's lying. She's saying that every athlete is eligible without knowing it, which is a pretty irresponsible comment coming from a lawmaker within the state. And second, the idea that lawmakers are asking for federally protected information, that's absolutely false. I've seen the letters that they've sent. I know the emails I've sent. In every email I have ever sent the MHSAA, I have said, I am not asking for student identifying information. I just want to know, does a waiver exist? Is there a waiver for any player? You don't have to tell me the name. Just tell me if the waiver exists, and they will not. So no one is asking for any federally protected information. As you noted earlier, we have gone out of our way to avoid naming this player. We are not trying to do that. That has never been my goal. My goal is to expose the problem within the policy and the lack of transparency by the bodies involved.
Yeah, and I agree. I didn't think of it the way you phrased it. Like, either way, her response is truthfully like pretty problematic.
Yes.
Do you think this is the moment that Michigan parents finally say enough? I mean, you were there. Like, what did the crowd reaction tell you? I saw some photos you posted online of different people, and I think pretty inspiring to see young girls even wearing apparel or shirts, some from XXXY Athletics saying, save women's sports. What was kind of the crowd reaction like?
So in general, what I found was that, at Skyline, it was obvious. Like, they were just fully on board, and I was this predator preying upon in their space, and it was their goal to make me as uncomfortable as possible, to the point that I literally had to call the police and have someone escort me to my car, because, Riley, these people are nuts, right? Like, it's not like I'm scared of that guy who's standing behind me, but I don't know what the hell they had planned for the parking lot or what. Like, we've seen some pretty terrible things in the past few months, especially, so there's that aspect of it. Once we got outside of Ann Arbor and into other towns, it became pretty clear to me that a lot of the parents, especially on the opposing teams, were very against this, but they were just so terrified to speak. I mean, there was one father who I asked if he would give me his opinion, and he was like, I have to walk away from you. Like, I can't be here right now. And I was like, oh, is he going to yell at me or something? And it turned out it wasn't that at all. In fact, he started to walk back towards me like he was going to say, and his wife goes, no, we have 2 more kids. We can't do this. We can't do this. We can't do this. Essentially implying, like, if we out ourselves as transphobes, then the community is going to ostracize us. And we found that pretty much across the board. The game that they lost against Byron Center, the crowd was heavy Byron Center. And it was noticeable that when the male player twice went to spike balls and actually got blocked, by far the loudest cheers in the gym. I mean, standing ovations when they blocked the male player. So everyone was aware of what was going on. It was clear they were against it, but we attempted to talk to several parents, and they were just like, nah, don't want to talk about it. Don't want to talk about it.
It is sad, because I found that too. I mean, in thinking back to 2022 at that national championships I raced, like, I vividly remember the stands, and you have parents and whoever, and people did say with their applause what they wouldn't say with their actual voice.
Exactly.
So it's moving, but we're living in a very different time. Obviously, Ann Arbor, Michigan is still totally under like a liberal chokehold. But the cultural, political, social climate now compared to 3 years ago is very, very different. And I wish these people, parents or whoever, felt bold enough to say, that's a man or that's a boy. And this is wrong. It's harmful to girls' sports. But the fight is ongoing. It persists, meaning you're not out of a job anytime soon, you middle-aged influencer. So
I'm honestly surprised, Riley, just because of you and the light you've shined on this and shown people that, you can speak out against this, how much pushback I really faced in Michigan. I mean, and I posted about this, everyone thinks about California, Washington, Oregon, Minnesota, even Maine as like these bastions of left-wing politics. Michigan is bad. Like,
totally.
It is. I mean, the culture there is unbelievable. And you have these parents who you could see it in their faces. Like, they just so badly wanted to say something, but literally thought they would be cast out from their society. Like, they would be banished in the old days, put on a horse, and they would just trot them out of town if they dared to speak out against the ridiculousness. So I hope the federal government is listening. I hope they get involved. I know that they've opened investigations into several states, many of the ones I just mentioned, for example. Michigan hasn't really come under any scrutiny. And I'm actually working on a story on this. Most people wouldn't know this, but the MHSAA was actually sued in 1998 for discriminating against female athletes. And they ended up losing that case in 2001. They spent 6 years appealing it and ultimately lost and nearly bankrupted the entire organization. And what it came down to is that when Title IX passed, Michigan, along with a few other states, decided they would put their girls' sports in different seasons as the boys' sports. Now, their claim was that, well, the girls, in order for them to have full access to the facilities and coaches and referees, they need to be in a different season. But what the plaintiffs argued was, no. You're trying not to inconvenience the boy athletes by having the girls' season going on at the same time so that they don't have to share the gym with the basketball team or find spots for their practice time. And the judge ultimately agreed that that's true. And Michigan had to completely change and move its girls' sports into the proper seasons. So they've gone through this before, where they have clearly discriminated against female athletes in a different respect. And it seems like they haven't learned anything, Riley.
Long history of discrimination, but now, weirdly enough, they're doing it under the guise of progress and like feminism, which absolutely makes zero sense. So thank you for exposing this and just bringing it to light for people, again, not just in the state of Michigan, but maybe people in other purplish states where this is still happening, Pennsylvania or Connecticut or Maine or New Hampshire or any of these states where laws currently aren't on the books. You're giving them, I truthfully believe, number one, I think hope in knowing that they're not the only ones going through this, but two, I think just the ability to use their voice effectively. So very grateful for you and excited to see what continues to unfold with the state. And I agree. I think we'll flag this for the federal government and the DOJ and the DOE.
Yeah, and last thing, Riley, I just want to say, and I texted you this privately, but I think it's worth sharing. I've always respected what you do and how you handle yourself, but I gained even more respect having gone through what I went through over the past 3 weeks. I mean, my DMs were flooded with people telling me to kill myself and that they were going to come find me. And I'm sure you deal with, and look, I'm not comparing myself to you whatsoever. I can't even imagine. Yeah, I can't even imagine what you go through. And the fact that you continue to push through it's truly inspiring. And there were times during this, honestly, where I thought, should I keep doing this? Is it worth it? And the answer I came to was, yes, it is. It is because I know I'm right. I know I'm on the right side. And that's why I will continue to push through, even through the attacks. And I just wanted you to know that you are a huge inspiration, not just to the girls, but even to someone like me. I found your story to be a huge inspiration. So thank you.
Oh, please. Well, I do take heart in knowing that you're on the right side. You're on the right side of this objectively, which in turn leads you to being on the right side of history. And that's a pretty validating, that gives me all the security and the confidence that I need to continue on with full steam ahead. And again, they have proven they're not slowing down. So neither will we. So grateful for you. Thank you for joining the Gains for Girls podcast. And I hope we can come back on soon.
Anytime, Riley. Thank you.